Hey guys, Carol here with the Lighthouse at Grace. Good morning. I'm here to bring you some great human trafficking awareness prevention education for youth. So I'm showing you this picture of this lovely teen girl named Haley, and she is depicted in a video called Trafficked that depicts a young girl being lured into trafficking. I shared the video a couple of weeks ago, and then I also just reshared it right before I made this video. So if you haven't watched it, if you'll please go watch it and then jump right back in with us for the education class. So let's just jump right in. So again, we have a beautiful teen high school girl, and in the beginning of this video, she shares that it's her birthday with her friends, and she shares that Chad is taking her out. I'm gonna guess she's turning about 16 years old. That's kind of my guess for Haley. Then we get to her friends. They're in the restroom talking about her birthday. She's changing into her nice outfit for her date. And they seemed very happy for her, didn't they? They said they were her best friends. She asked them not to tell anybody, and they agreed. They promised they wouldn't tell anybody. So right there, we know that Chad is a secret relationship. Her parents, maybe her whole family doesn't know. Maybe just these friends are the only ones who know about Chad. So here's what I wonder about Haley's friends. Did they pray with her and over her for wisdom and discernment about this relationship? Did they ask her, are you sure about this? What do you really know about Chad? Have you met his family? So had the friends met him? Did they have a description of him, his car, his license plate number? Had they Googled him? Did they know where he lived? Was he perhaps a student who had already graduated? So he seemed a little older, and maybe they had a level of comfort and familiarity with him. So they weren't really concerned that she was keeping this relationship a secret. And then Chad. Who was Chad? So Chad was her groomer, her recruiter. He groomed and recruited her into trafficking. And he did this through the most prevalent recruitment method. It's called the boyfriend method. Sometimes it's called the Romeo method. So he deceived her, he manipulated her, he made her believe he was interested in her romantically. And I'm going to say this on every video, kidnapping is the least prevalent way that trafficking happens. The romantic method is the most prevalent way that it happens. So it's backward from what most people think. And look at Chad. Does he look like a creepy monster that we would think about as someone who traffics a person? No. And wonder where he met Haley. Maybe online. And if he was an older student, did she know him from before? Did they maybe reconnect at a football game, the park? We can only speculate how they met. So when they pull up to the creepy house with the creepy guy waiting for them, things automatically got very uncomfortable. We see it in Haley's face. She's very uncomfortable. That's when I'm screaming at the screen saying, "Run, Haley! Tell him you're going to wait for him in the car. Don't go in the backyard." Chad told her on the way that he needed to pick up some money, right? But he didn't. He left one part out, that he didn't tell her that he would be selling her to traffickers. And so the AMP model that I shared on here that depicts the way that that trafficking, the law that makes up the crime of human trafficking, I posted last month. And Chad actually committed 3 actions which are the crime of human trafficking. And that's recruiting, transporting, and providing. And the verse that I think of when I think about Chad is 1 Peter 5:8. Be alert and of sober mind. Your enemy, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion looking for someone to devour. If Chad was making money off of selling young girls, you know that he was out looking for a vulnerable young girl that he could lure in and make her believe that he was interested in her, like he did with Haley. So then he picks her up actually from her school, right? So if this was a school in Texas, this is illegal in the state of Texas thanks to the No Trafficking Zone Act, which is Senate Bill 1831. Public school campuses are no trafficking zones. So offenders that contact, arrange meetings, or pick students up within these no trafficking zones face a first-degree felony. And so if you want more information on the no trafficking zones, or the No Trafficking Zone Act, visit notraffickingzone.org. And you can see the other areas. This law has now moved into other areas, making them no trafficking zones, like our universities, our colleges, and some other places where youth gather. So this organization was instrumental in getting this legislation passed in Texas. So if this were a high school in Texas that Chad had picked her up from, Chad could be facing some real prison time for picking her up from a Texas high school. Then we get to the house, to the backyard. How do you think Haley was feeling once they got into the backyard? I'm going to guess her fight or flight reflexes were just going crazy. Her adrenaline was probably going crazy. So she sees this guy up on the balcony, and his name is Jake, and he says, "So this is what you brought me." So I'm sure her stomach just immediately got tied in knots. And then we see this guy. We actually see 3 younger guys in the video, and this guy was there to handle the transaction to pay Chad. And I'm wondering, were these Jake's sons? Was this like a family trafficking business that they were running right there in the neighborhood? So I got the idea that they were there to enforce Jake's rules. And yeah, if they were brothers, this is a family trafficking business taking place right there in the neighborhood. And then they brought Chad in, the young, handsome guy, as the bait to charm a young teen girl. Because I don't know if any of these guys were going to be able to charm a young girl and lure her in, pretending to be romantically interested. I don't know if Haley would have taken the bait. So they needed someone young and handsome like Chad. And they paid Chad, and he took off with the money. This guy right here, the smirk on his face. So Chad provided her to the creeps through deception, and these creeps obtained her by force. So those are 2 other actions that make up the crime of trafficking. And for what purpose? I'm going to guess commercial sex. And so you think about Haley, once she's left there in the backyard, Chad takes off. Maybe they force her to take drugs. Maybe they take some photos to advertise her for sale and turn her out that night and provide her to paying customers. So this is all speculation, but I'm sure that it was nothing that Haley had planned that day for her birthday. So they are changing hands, all the obtaining and providing. They're going to probably provide her to sex buyers later in the evening. So she's changing hands as if she's a product to be bought and sold. And that's a problem, because she's not a product to be bought and sold. She's a beautiful teen girl made in the image of God, her creator. And she was not meant to be bought and sold like cattle. This young lady, the girl in the window, who is she? Maybe she's the wife of Jake. I saw a wedding ring on Jake's finger. Is this his daughter? Is she being trafficked? And so notice we don't see any chains, do we? We don't see any cages. That everyone thinks that trafficking victims are locked in cages and chained up. Yes, they are sometimes. But this lady is free. She's looking out the window of her own free will. She looks a little older than Haley to me. So did maybe one of these younger guys, Jake's sons that we're speculating, did they maybe recruit her like Chad did with Haley? Maybe when, they were all younger. So if it's trafficking and there's no chains, she's not locked up, why would she stay? So here's some possibilities. Maybe she's addicted to drugs. Maybe they threatened to beat her up. Maybe she has nowhere to go and no support. And at least here she has a roof over her head and food to eat. So maybe she has a child to support and she just has no options, and she's just got to stay. At least her baby, will be fed and have a roof. They'll have a roof over their head. So these are not physical chains. These are more like psychological, invisible chains, aren't they? So what if she has been threatened that if she tries to leave, that Jake and his sons are going to find her and kill her family? Was she maybe brought here from another country to be Jake's wife? She has nowhere to go, doesn't speak English. Maybe they took her ID and documentation away. So if any of these are true, we see that she's being harbored or housed through force, fraud, and or coercion. So back to Haley, the most important person in this video, the victim, but I call her a survivor of human trafficking. If she's still alive, then she's a survivor. This video is around 10 years old, so the statistics at the end have definitely increased. And so I'm just thinking, once Haley's left there in the backyard, that maybe she is hoping and praying that her friends told her parents. She's probably hoping and praying that they get into her social media accounts and they find the conversations that she had with Chad. Maybe she wishes she had a phone with Life 360 on it so that her parents and police could track and rescue her. And she probably wishes she had never met and trusted Chad. So what can we do? So for you teens out there, this is a verse straight from Jesus's mouth in Matthew 10:10. And he said, "Look, I'm sending you out like sheep among wolves. Therefore be as shrewd as serpents and as innocent as doves." So we've got to be wise and discerning with people we meet. So she didn't trust Chad. You could see that on her face when he asked her if she trusted him. So make sure to tell your parents and have a safe adult in your life to confide in, and tell others what you're doing and where you're going. Don't keep secret relationships from your parents. For those of you out there that are friends, you're a teen who's a friend, here's advice for friends. So look out for your friends, and when something doesn't seem right, speak up. If you feel very strongly about what your friend is doing that could endanger himself or herself, tell a safe adult. You might lose a friend, but it's worth it if something like this is happening in your friend's life. And they will thank you later for telling. So don't be afraid to tell if you really feel like someone's in danger. So for neighbors and community, that's pretty much all of us, right? So notice things and be on watch and on the lookout, and trust your gut. So if you see a house in your neighborhood with creepy vibes, like this house, keep an eye on them. And if there's lots of activity at that house, lots of cars coming and going, especially at all hours of the night, that's a huge red flag. And if you see a young girl, a young man and a young girl pull up to a house, and they go in the backyard and only the young man comes out, where's the girl? You don't see the girl come out. Make a call to 911. If you see a lady peeking out through the curtains and you never see her, like that she's able to go and drive and, have her own free will, you just kind of wonder, who is she? What is her relationship to the other people in the house? Call 911. So never be afraid if you feel somebody's in danger. Never be afraid to call 911. That's what they're there for, to help. So if you're able to do this safely, get license plate numbers, get descriptions, if you're able to do that safely from your kitchen window. If you're able to look out the window and get that information and make a note of that. So if you feel someone's in immediate danger, again, call 911. If you're not quite sure that they're in danger, you can always call the Human Trafficking Hotline at 1-888-373-7888. And I'm going to post that phone number so you can have that. Continue to follow us here on social media. Share what we're sharing with you. Share it with others. Show others these videos so that we can get the word out. We want to prevent trafficking from happening in the first place before victimization occurs. So thanks for watching today, and you guys have a super blessed day. Thanks again.